Avast ye scurvy dogs. I be Lupinefiasco. This be daily FaB gameplay, and today you're gonna walk the plank. I'm kidding, we're gonna play some Flesh and Blood. What we do here is review replays of games I played on the challengeshard.net client days or weeks ago, after enough time has passed, that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my games. I'll be talking through turn cycles and giving my thoughts on the lines I would take now, comparing them to the lines I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events and walk away with that shiny, shiny cardboard. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to my channel. It's the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see every new upload daily FaB gameplay in your video feed. You can find a FaBery link to the decklist I'm playing here in the video description below. You'll also find a link to my Patreon. Subscribers at the Arc Lightning tier and higher will get access to my matchup guides for all my decks forever. Want to tighten and optimize your gameplay in real life? Use my affiliate link in the video description to buy your very own Codex journal, and be sure to use code LUPINE10, that's LUPINE10, at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Finally, daily FaB gameplay is brought to you in part by Hemel from The Bazaar. It's never been more affordable to play in the Flesh and Blood. Players have been buying the cards they need from Hemel for years. I started buying from him in 2023 and have never found a better deal. The Bazaar's prices are the lowest for singles, full sets, and class sets, including new releases. Pre-order High Seas set bundles and singles now. Pre-orders are available to ship internationally, and singles can be purchased in person at US Nationals in Vegas. Message Hemel on Blue Sky, Discord, email, or Twitter to see what he can do for you. Now, let's get ready to keelhaul some landlubbers. Kicking off our pirate adventures ahead of Nationals with Harpoon Marlynn. Excited to try this build out. Feels very Guardian-esque, which, I've dabbled in some Jarl in my day, but excited to see how that translates to Ranger. Marlynn's got some good stuff in the deck. Conquer of the High Seas. The Harpoons are all really nice. I think the deck building tension is going to come with blue count. Similar to Guardian, when you draw 2 or more reds in a hand, you want to kill yourself. But we're going to see how it works in this deck here. Queuing into Oscilio, who's really just playing the same deck that he was playing in Hunted meta, although with his new 0-cost shock, 3-block Cards Insane. We're trying to avoid getting combo killed with Spring Tunic, Lightning Greaves, and Gone in a Flash shenanigans, and we're going to try to pull that off by disrupting Oscilio, Conquer the High Seas, plus Dominated Arrows that let us strip his hand. I'm going to try my best not to comment on design choices that I think might not make too much sense. We're all learning the heroes together. As I said in the intro of this video, we're using a deck that I found on FaBery. Already, though I'm not 100% on what New Horizon does for this deck, just because firing 2 arrows in a turn, especially if we've activated a cannon, is like 8 resources, which means that we would have needed a card in arsenal, 3 cards in hand, and a way to get another arrow into the arsenal after flipping a blue with Sarong. Seems like it's asking a lot, but just excited to see what New Horizon does for the deck. We won the die roll, we chose to go first. Against a wizard, I think that's always correct. We want to make Oscilio do something on our turn so that he can't just play a bunch of sigils and pass. If he gets to go first, he can lay out his hand and then say go. If we go first and he has a handful of sigils, he can still do that, but he might have to take some damage first. So the opening here is kind of tragic. I think the best thing we can do with this hand is pitch 2 blues, send Conqueror for 8, try to catch Oscilio with some instants, and then arsenal the Yellowfin Harpoon. That's what I choose to do. Using the Enchanted Quiver here, this list, as you'll see if you visit FaBery, does have Quiver of Rustling Leaves in it, which plays very well with New Horizon, but again, it does put us into a weird spot where we really need to have a blue arrow face down so that we can flip with Sarong. If we have a blue arrow face up and then a red arrow face down, Sarong gives us a lot of trouble. I think the best thing that Sarong does for this deck is just flip a face down arrow face up, which works very well with New Horizon, but again, it needs to be a blue arrow. Sigil of Aether coming in for 1 Arcane. This hand is interesting. We can do a really powerful line where we block with Return Fire, banish King Shark Harpoon, load it into our arsenal at the start of next turn, pitch 2 blues for cannon, and then shoot King Shark for 13 overpower on hit, take an attack action card from your hand, which is really what we want to be doing. But if Oscilio doesn't attack us, then the Return Fire just rots. We can't get an arrow into our arsenal. I'm bringing this up because what we could do in response to this Sigil of Aether to make sure that Oscilio doesn't amp is bottom our Harpoon to Trench of Sunken Treasure, make a resource, use that resource to pay into Arcane Barrier. But if Oscilio doesn't attack us, we don't do anything on our turn. We just pass. We take a huge intellect penalty and pass. I guess we play Shifting Tides and pass. So I think we have to take the 1 Arcane here, and we're just sad about it. I mean, we're sad if Oscilio doesn't attack us, but if he just plays some instance and then sends a spell, we can at least like pitch Return Fire to Trench. Getting hit with Eclectic Magnetism. Let's go ahead and block with Return Fire. I think we should not block with Gold-Plated Hook here. There's an argument to doing so, which is just if Oscilio combo kills you on turn 3, you want to make sure that you have blocked with all of your equipment before that point. But we don't need to use it right now. Just checking Return Fire, we do have to banish now. It's important to note that Return Fire will put the card into your arsenal at the start of your turn, not at the start of your action phase, which means that you cannot Sarong or Trench in response to the Return Fire trigger. There is no trigger that you can respond to, which means this turn is going to work out fairly well for us because we get to now trench away our Harpoon in Arsenal, float a resource, AB1, the Etchings of Arcane. It still surges, we still take 1 point, Oscilio still, or 4 points, Oscilio still gets his Sigil of Aether back, but we empty our arsenal, which is going to let us put King Shark Harpoon into it. But if we did not want to trench there, if we couldn't use the resource to get King Shark Harpoon into our arsenal, we have to trench or Sarong at the end of Oscilio's turn. We can't do it at the start of ours, which means that we either lose the resource or lose the go again from Sarong. It is sort of the awkward tension that Return Fire gives us. Return Fire, really good card, and very good if you don't already have an arsenal, but if you do have an arsenal, it's a little harder to get value from it. So here we're going to go through what I think is the standard Marlynn line, which she wants to be doing every turn, which is pitch 2 blues into Hammerhead, activate Gold-Plated Hook, and then send a 2-cost Harpoon. Ideally, it's a red one. Like I said, we're sending a 2-cost 13, really a 6-cost 13, let's be honest. But we're going to make a gold on the back end. Depending on Oscilio's hand, we will get a gold. There is some weird tension with Oscilio, and I think most of the wizards, I mean, definitely not Kano. If you hit Kano with a King Shark Harpoon, he's not going to give you a card. But if you hit him with a non-attack, King Kraken Harpoon, then you'll get a non-attack action. With Oscilio, there's weird tension where sometimes his hands do have multiple attack actions in them. Sometimes his hands only have one, sometimes they have none. We're getting a Glyph overlay block here, which means that we're getting 10 over the top of blocks. Gold-Plated Hook will make a gold. We see 3 cards that are not attacks. So we will have to choose one of these to be revealed just to resolve the King Shark Harpoon trigger. But we're just taking a look at what Oscilio's turn looks like. We think it's going to be play Channel Lightning Valley in response to Sigil of Aether, which means that we can AB1 the Sigil to make sure that we don't let Oscilio draw. Oscilio pitches Comet Storm to activate Volzar, and then plays Mind Warp. At least that's what we can assume he's going to do. We don't know what Oscilio's arsenal is, so if the arsenal is a different spell, it doesn't have to be Mind Warp, it could be something else. But just based on what we have seen from Oscilio's hand, we know that it's going to be Sigil, CLV, Pitch to Volzar spell, which means that we do want to AB1 here. We want to AB1 the Surge, or the Arcane, to make sure that Oscilio doesn't draw. We also want to then have resources floating so that Oscilio cannot get us with a Surged Mind Warp. So how are we navigating this turn? We have a few options. We want to pitch a blue to the Sigil of Aether. The reason that I did not use Enchanted Quiver there, that I undid the action, is because I will also have to AB1 the Mind Warp. So I really want to pitch a blue so that I pitch a single card and prevent 2 instances of 1 point of damage rather than using my quiver and also pitching a blue or a red. And I guess we could quiver pitch King Shark Harpoon here, which then gives us the option of pitch a blue, crack gold, see what we draw, pitch another blue, Conqueror for 8, go again. Which now that I'm really looking at it is maybe what I want to be doing, because if I just pitch a blue, then what is my turn? Like, the greedy play is pitch blue, break gold, draw a card. If I rip a blue, then I get to Conqueror for 8, go again, Arsenal King Shark Harpoon, and I'm like really happy with the turn cycle. If I don't draw a blue, if I draw a yellow or a red, then I load King Shark Harpoon, pitch a yellow, send 6. Oscilio just takes it because he doesn't care, and then I Arsenal Conqueror. So I think the ideal line here is actually break quiver, pitch King Shark to AB1 the Volzar Mind Warp, and then on my turn, crack gold, Conqueror for 8. But the line I take instead is pitching the blue. Now again, this is the greedy play. It isn't a bad play, it's just greedy, because if we crack gold by pitching a blue and then draw another blue, and we have 27 blues in this deck, so in theory, we're very likely to draw a blue. We're very far ahead. We've got Etchings of Arcana coming in for 3. We get to prevent the Surge, but we don't prevent Oscilio from drawing with Channel Lightning Valley. We're going to break the gold, see what we get, and we draw a red. So we are not paid off for our greedy line. Drawing the red here is absolutely terrible, and like I said, in a Guardian style deck, when you have 2 reds in your hand, you want to kill yourself, and we have 3 reds in our hand. So we're just going to fire off the King Shark Harpoon. There's no overpower. There is an active on hit, but it is extremely unlikely that Oscilio has 4 attack actions in his hand. So what's more likely is he'll just block for whatever value he can get out of his hand, and then, take some damage and show us a card that is not an attack action. And we're going to Arsenal Conquer the High Seas. And I had thought here maybe we are supposed to use Gold-Plated Hook just to try to get blocks from Oscilio. Right, Oscilio has Channel Lightning Valley down, the Tunic is going to be up next turn. So this could very well be the combo turn, and maybe by using Gold-Plated Hook, we are incentivizing Oscilio to give us cards. But, in hindsight, we do get paid off by just not activating Hook. If we had activated Hook, we would have lost it. So what we draw into here is, it's a hand of cards. What we want to do is block with our red here. Give me a minute, let me find the name of this thing. Is our Saltwater Swell, just because we can't really do anything with it, right? We pitch a blue, we attack for 3, go again. If we rip a blue off the top to pitch, then we get to send Conqueror, and that'd be a really cool, 3-card hand, or a 2-card hand with the Arsenal. But sort of where we are running into a problem with Marlynn, and I think a lot of people are going to be experiencing this, is while I can't get this Harpoon into my Arsenal, I don't have a follow-up. So maybe we block with Harpoon and we send a little more damage by sending Saltwater Swell red, pitching the blue. If we rip a blue off the top, we get to send Conqueror, and then we play Shifting Tides and pass. I don't want to let the Blast to Oblivion hit. I don't want to let Oscilio draw a card. Maybe he will be able to. He blocked with a Mind Warp from hand, but that doesn't mean that there is not a Mind Warp in Arsenal. He could have just drawn a second one. So potentially we are getting spelled at the end of this turn, which would mean that we let him draw anyway, but I don't want to just give it to him for free. So my line here is going to be Saltwater Swell and Gold-Plated Hook. my intention for the turn is going to be pitch 2 blues, play Conqueror for 8 go again, and then just load King Kraken, Harpoon, and pass. And that feels really bad to not be able to use those 2 floating resources, but, you know, what else are we doing? So Oscilio plays Channel Lightning Valley, picks up Channel Lightning. We are able to prevent the draw. Oscilio pitches a yellow Blast to Oblivion, which lets us know that he has a Channel Lightning Valley in hand, and it's pretty bad for us. We'll still play Conqueror. I think we should have used Hook here. That would have been the ideal play, which would have also then given us the ability to use our 2 floating resources to break gold. Depending on what we draw, we can load our King Kraken Harpoon face up, and then Arsenal the other card in our hand face down, taking advantage of New Horizon. I just didn't think of it at the time. It's weird because Oscilio does have all of his armor, so if we do use gold-plated Hook, Oscilio can just give us 2 pieces of armor and 2 3 blocks from hand. He gets to play the Channel Lightning Valley from Arsenal, meaning that he is not incentivized to fully block out the Conqueror, but it also means that he had to play Channel Lightning Valley on our turn rather than his, which is potentially very bad for him. What do we have in our hand? We have another Conqueror play, and then we have our King Kraken Harpoon in Arsenal. So what I want to do here is play a 4-card 14, pitching 2 blues, send Conqueror, send King Kraken. If we had another blue in our hand, if this Monkey Powder was blue, then I'm absolutely blocking with Sunken Treasure here, making a gold, and then feeling really great about my turn. And again, Guardian style deck, when you have 2 reds in your hand, you want to kill yourself. This Monkey Powder does nothing for us currently. Notably, we have a Harpoon in our arsenal, so we don't care about drawing a card to load, but also the Overpower isn't what gives King Kraken its Thoughtseize effect. It's activating a Harpoon, which we can't really do this turn. Now what we could do, block with a Monkey Powder and maybe Trench, pitch 2 blues to activate Harpoon, to activate Cannon, and then send King Kraken for 10. An Arsenal Conqueror. I think the block here, I don't want to just give Oscilio 2 free draws. Like, I want to block this Fry. We're kind of done with Sarong at this point, right? We've never used it, and I don't think we're going to get the chance to. So I don't mind blocking with Sarong. Do I want to save my Monkey Powder or my Sarong? And I think it's Sarong, so I'm going to block with Trench and Sarong here. Losing the Trench, you know, potentially bad. We also don't want to trench away this card in our arsenal, at least not yet. Depending on whether Oscilio closes the chain or not, Trench is just going to hang out. So if we end up needing to AB1 later in this turn for whatever reason, we can do that. Oscilio is not closing the chain, so we are, you know, potentially still good if Oscilio sends, like, I don't know, Destructive Aether Tide, and we want to just get some value out of our arsenal before we lose it. But we've had Gone in a Flash. Oscilio draws 2 cards. At this point, we're waiting to see what his line is. Playing Blink to pick up Gone in a Flash is good for him. He's stacking the Volzar triggers, but he also has not used Tunic Greaves, which says that this is not the big turn. This is a big turn, but it isn't the big turn, and it's pretty good for us. I think based on where this game is going, depending on if Oscilio is going to Arsenal or not, I think what I do want to do, now that I've said it, I didn't think about it at the time, we should have blocked this Gone in a Flash with Monkey Powder, and then do the Hammerhead Harpoon line. Conqueror here does threaten the Arsenal, but if Oscilio just puts 3 cards in front of this, and then we send King Kraken, maybe Oscilio's last card is an instant, and he doesn't care, or it's an attack action, and he doesn't care, or it is a non-attack action, and then he blocks with it. So I think this is just worse. And yeah, we don't get paid off. Oscilio has had a lot of blocking cards that lined up very well with when we were going to attack with the Conqueror. But I just think there was a better way to play this turn, and I think it was blocking with the Monkey Powder. We beat 18. We send King Kraken Harpoon, 10 overpower. We're threatening 4 less damage this turn, but we are messing with Oscilio's turn, and at this point we just kind of aren't. We see a Sigil of Brilliance in hand. We're arsenaling the Monkey Powder, which is fine. It's a 3-cost red, which I don't love. Here we draw a hand with only 1 blue in it. We want to kill ourselves. Not a super fan of Sea Legs in this deck. Thinking about what we can do with this turn, we can play the Monkey Powder, pitching our blue. +1 overpower to a Harpoon, which we don't have, but we do have a Codex. We'll draw a card, potentially is our Harpoon, and a reload. What are we looking for when we do this? We are looking for a blue. I mean, we are in a weird spot now where we don't have a 1-cost arrow in our graveyard, so if we do draw a blue here, well, we can maybe put something together. I'm trying to think of how we get to Cannon Codex to then fire a Harpoon. So let's Monkey Powder, see what we draw. Draw a King Kraken Harpoon, which we can put into our arsenal with the Marlynn trigger, but we cannot activate Cannon and fire the Harpoon. We're 1 resource short, which is why I'm looking at the Sea Legs. Like, why aren't you a blue? We can ignore our Marlynn trigger, play, call in the big guns, load our Harpoon that way, pitch Sea Legs, send Harpoon for 10 overpower, but the problem is it doesn't have the cannon effect, so it doesn't strip Oscilio's hand, it just lets him show us a non-attack action. We could break a gold, pitch Sea Legs, break a gold, try to draw into a blue, get to do cannon, King Kraken, but if we draw a red, then our turn kind of sucks. I think the line here is ignore Marlynn trigger, play call in the big guns, load Harpoon, send 10 overpower. It's just damage, but we get a Harpoon and our Codex and Arsenal. If we can keep 2 blues in our next hand, then we get to do the cool line, where we pitch to Cannon, play Codex, get that King Kraken, and fire it for 10 overpower, do the whole thing. We are going to get to use our gold-plated hook this turn. So we got that going for us, at least. Pushing some damage, hoping we're not dead, hoping that we get to keep 2 blues in our next hand, and then Codex, and try to win the game that way. But we're at 16. Oscilio hasn't done the thing yet. Oscilio's going to have a 6-card hand after the Sigil of Brilliance pops. So, do I feel good about my position in this game? Not really. We're just hoping for the best. And we've got Enchanted Quiver. We're at an effective 17. So we're going to see how that works out for us. Oscilio does Oscilio things. Plays a second Sigil of Brilliance, which is not card advantage at this point, but it does give him an extra point of amp if he wanted to break his Aether Bindings. We do draw into 2 blues, which is nice. So we are looking to block with a blue and a Codex this turn. And then on our turn, do the cool Cannon Codex line. Waiting to see what Oscilio does. He's got a million cards over there. So I am feeling fairly dead. But the good news about this hand is it does block if we need it to. The problem is what's going to kill us is not going to be physical damage, it's going to be arcane damage. But again, the fact that Electrostatic Discharge is coming down without having broken Tunic Greaves does make me feel good about where I am in this game. Again, another instant played without breaking Greaves makes me feel like I do have another turn. If we can just live and keep these 3 cards, we win the game. We haven't seen a defense reaction out of Oscilio yet, so we feel like he doesn't have them, which would mean the 10 overpowers his skills, except that now we have to deal with Command and Conquer. Unlucky. We can block with our New Horizon, take 4, go to 9, lose the arsenal anyway. Then our turn, because we have 2 gold, we can activate Marlynn, destroy one of our golds, make a Harpoon. We can pitch a blue, break the other gold, load our Harpoon, and we are looking for a pump, We're going to get to pitch our second blue into cannon. We're sending 6 overpower. If we can find another, call them the big guns for +3, then we do just win the game, because we get to send 9 overpower, and I don't think Oscilio can deal with it unless he has a defense reaction, which again, we haven't seen any yet. The most he can block is 5 with a 3 block, Tunic, and Flash of Brilliance. But if we don't draw the pump, or if we don't draw, I don't know, something better than a Goldfin Harpoon, then we just lose. I think here we do just lose. We are going to load our Goldfin Harpoon. Unfortunately, we can't pitch the Goldfin Harpoon. If we could load a Bluefin Harpoon, pitch our second Bluefin Harpoon to cannon, and then pitch Goldfin Harpoon to send 8 overpower, then we don't win, but we put Oscilio to 1 and potentially screw up his hand. But instead we are just sending 6. We can use our hook here. I don't think it's going to matter because I think we're dead on the next turn. But, you know, maybe not. We can at least try to get some value out of our Goldfin here. We're going to Arsenal the Bluefin Harpoon, and then, again, same turn cycle. We need to live and keep 2 blues. And if we can live and keep 2 blues, then we're fine, because we get to pitch 2 blues to Hammerhead and then send Bluefin Harpoon for 8 overpower. And if we can't do that, then we probably just die. If we can keep a blue, then we send Bluefin Harpoon for 4, and we're sad about it. But at the very least, we are forcing Oscilio to block with something. He is going to 1 here. We do make the gold, which, again, doesn't matter. And we are just going to hope that Oscilio somehow doesn't have it. We do have a blue and a yellow, so we cannot actually do the cannon harpoon line. We are instead going to try to block with our Baroque and our sea legs and stay alive, and then pitch Codex for Bluefin Harpoon, and like Oscilio has to give us a card, and maybe that's good enough. At this point, we'll block with sea legs and Codex. I think we do want to block with Codex here again, just to keep Oscilio off of Channel Lightning Valley for as long as we can. I think it's unlikely that Oscilio just doesn't have anything. We know he has a Gone in a Flash, but, you know, if the other card in hand is a non-attack action, then we actually still just die because the Gone in a Flash has Go again. I suppose we could have not blocked there in case Oscilio does just have a 3 and doesn't have the resource to pay into Volsar. Instead, Oscilio does draw the card off of Gone in a Flash, so it doesn't really matter anyway. And now we are just dead. So, I don't really want to call that a close game. I know life totals make it seem like, oh, we were right there, Oscilio was at 1. Definite probable misplays on my part. I identified at least one with not taking the King Kraken line. That would have let me Arsenal conquer the high seas, use all my resources that turn, potentially screw up Oscilio's hand. But for the most part, I am able to identify some problems I see with this particular build of Marlynn, but also Marlynn just generally. I think having the gold matters a lot for being able to load a harpoon. You know, that's her whole turn cycle is activate cannon, shoot harpoon. So you really need to be able to get a harpoon into your arsenal, and having New Horizon instead of Crown of Dominion says that that's very difficult. I think that 27 blues might be a little low just based on how bad your harpoons are if you aren't doing the thing with cannon. 2 for 6 is a bad card, and 2 for 6 that doesn't disrupt is a bad card. Now a 3-card 10 that does take a card from your opponent is really good. You can make a gold with gold-plated hook, that's insane. But a 2-card 6 that doesn't do anything besides let your opponent show you a card is really bad, so I think up the blue count for sure. I personally need to get better with Sarong. I think there's probably something there. I don't see what Marlynn is playing if not Sarong. Purge Grapplers seems bad. Snapdragon Scaler doesn't work with the harpoons. So, I mean, Sarong might just be there for 2 block. And sometimes you get to keep 5 cards and you get to convert really, really well. But Marlynn already has such a hard time getting a second harpoon into Arsenal. I mean, she has a hard time with the first harpoon in Arsenal. Getting a second one into Arsenal seems really difficult. And I guess that's what the New Horizon is for, but I think building around Sarong is a lot worse than just building around harpoons. So, again, this list is in the video description of this video if you want to check it out. I think it is a good starting point for sure. And I think there are definitely some cards that we didn't see this game. You know, E-Strike would have helped. Big Game Trophy Shot could have helped. Certainly play mistakes on my end. This is my first time playing Harpoon Marlynn. Really just trying out the deck, getting a feel for it. I think there's something here if you can do the thing consistently and you want to build into that. So I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to hammerhead that like button. My comments are always open for any questions or feedback. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out a lot. I have a Blue Sky, a Discord, and a Patreon, links to which are in the video description below. I will be back later this week with more daily FaB gameplay, and until then, take care.